Alfonso, there is a lag between your picture and your voice.
Yes, I know. I think the connection at IHP doesn't work very well. That's the main problem.
Okay, doesn't matter. I just hope that my voice come
Yes,
with
yes.
the
Fine.
slides correctly.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have defined the Tonelli-Lagrangian. Let me now give examples as usual. If you start with the Hamiltonian H0, which is 1/2 of norm of p square, you get L0 as Lagrangian, which is 1/2 of norm of v square. Okay, and again, if you compute A0 and C0, you get R square over 2. Now, if you have a bounded CR function and you compute the Tonelli-Lagrangian associated to the Tonelli-Hamiltonian HV with plus V, in fact, what you get is kinetic energy minus the potential for the Lagrangian. Okay, if you do the computation, that's what you find. And this is not astonishing because you are taking PV minus h of xp, so you end up with minus V. Okay, now once we have the Lagrangian, we can define action and minimizers. So I suppose you know what they are, but let me just recall things so we can fix notations and refresh a little bit. So the action of a curve, piecewise C1 curve, I'll denote it by L of gamma, and it's defined as the integral, okay, of the value of the Lagrangian on the speed curve of gamma. So if gamma is a curve, this is a curve in M, the speed curve is a curve in the tangent space, which is S maps to gamma S, gamma dot S. You can evaluate the Lagrangian at every point of the speed curve and then integrate. So by the superlinearity, because the Lagrangian is bounded everywhere by minus C of 0, bounded below, okay, let me just show it from here. I should have reproduced it. So it comes from here. When k equals 0, I get minus C of 0. Okay. Because the Lagrangian is everywhere bounded below by minus C of 0, the action is always bounded by minus C0 B minus A, below. Now, what is a minimizer? A minimizer for the Lagrangian is a curve which has the property that the action of this curve gamma is smaller than the action of any other curve parameterized by the same interval and with the same endpoints. So the picture is just this following one. You have a curve gamma, it's a minimizer. If each time you take a curve delta parameterized by the same interval and with the same endpoint, then the action of delta is larger than the action of gamma. So minimizer play a crucial role in Aubry-Mather theory and also in what we will do, even if we don't really mention Aubry-Mather theory, at least not for the first 3 lectures. So minimizers, they are minimum of the action functional, okay? So the action functional L is a function defined on paths with the endpoints fixed and the interval of parameterization fixed. Minimizers are minimum for that, okay? And therefore, they must be critical point, like all minimums, and they are among the critical points. So the critical points are what is called extremals. So more precisely, an extremal for L is a curve gamma such that the derivative of L on the space of all curves parameterized with the same interval and with the same endpoints, okay, the derivative of L on that set E gamma vanishes at gamma. Okay, by the classical theory of calculus of variation, the curve gamma is an extremal if and only if it satisfies the Euler-Lagrange equation, which is given in local coordinates by d over dt of dl over dv gamma t gamma dot t is equal to dl over dx gamma t gamma dot t. Okay, so this defines in fact a second order ODE on first order ODE, sorry, on TM. And in fact, it's as any first order ODE on TM, it's a second order ODE on M. So since the extremal satisfies second order ODE on M, if two extremal coincide at some time t0 in position and speed, what do I mean by that? If I have two extremals, gamma 1 and gamma 2, such that gamma 1 of t0 is gamma 2 of t0, and the speed gamma dot 1 t0 and gamma dot 2 t0 are the same, then in fact, these extremal have to be equal on their common interval of definition. Moreover, because it's a first order ODE on TM, it defines the flow on TM, which is called the Euler-Lagrange flow. And in fact, this flow is complete. It's defined for all time. This comes from the fact that our Hamiltonian does not depend on time, and therefore we have conservation of energy. I'm not going to elaborate on that, but just remember, your flow is defined by the Euler-Lagrange equation, is defined for all time. So gamma is an extremal if and only if its speed curve is an orbit of the flow. And conversely, if you project any orbit of the flow which is in Tm, you project it using the canonical projection to M, you will get an extremal, and the speed curve of this extremal is just the orbit of your flow. So what is important also is to realize that since the Lagrangian does not depend on time, you can shift in time a curve by t, and it will remain an extremal if it's an extremal, and the minimizer if it's a minimizer. What do I mean by shifting? So if you have a curve gamma from AB into M, gamma sub t, the curve shifted by time t, is parameterized by the interval a minus t, b minus t, and of course is defined by gamma sub t of s is gamma of t plus s. Okay, and because the Lagrangian does not depend on time, like the Hamiltonian, the action of the curve gamma and the curve gamma t are the same, and as such, that implies that if you shift a minimizer, you get a minimizer, and if you shift an extremal, you get an extremal. Now it's time to tell you about Tonelli's theorem. Tonelli's theorem tells you that if you have a Tonelli Hamiltonian, for every pair of number AB, A less than B, every pair of point XY in M, there exists a minimizer gamma parameterized by AB, which start at X and ends at Y. And any such minimizer is as smooth as L and is a solution of the Euler-Lagrange equation. So now we can define the minimal action. Suppose you fix some positive time t and you fix 2 points xy. We define the minimal action ht of xy to join x to y in time t as the infimum of all actions of curves, okay, starting at time 0 in x and ending at time t in y. Okay, we use here the interval 0t, but as we will see presently, that doesn't really matter provided you fix the length of the interval to t. Okay, so this infimum is always attained by a minimizer, which is as smooth as the Lagrangian. This is the content of the theorem of Tonelli. Since L does not depend on time, it is also useful to note that for xy in M and AB in R with A less than B, not larger than B, okay, we can also compute HB minus A xy as the infimum over all curve gamma of the action where the infimum is taken on all curves gamma parameterized by AB that start at time A by X and end at times B by Y. Okay, and we also note that gamma is the minimizer if and only if H B minus A of gamma A, gamma B is the action of gamma. You can rewrite it also as HB minus A, gamma B is equal to the integral from A to B of L of gamma S, gamma dot S ds, which is nothing but the action of gamma. Okay. Now, if we define the Tonelli-Lagrangian as 1/2 of the norm of V square, it is not difficult to find that the minimal action is the distance from x to y squared divided by 2t. Of course, the minimizer are just the minimizing geodesics between 2 points. It's exactly the geodesics which give you whose length is the distance between the 2 points. Now, if you look at the Tonelli-Lagrangian L sub V, where you subtract from L0 the potential V, okay, you just can bound the minimal action, okay, compare it to distance xy to xy squared divided by 2t, but then it's between that distance squared divided by 2t minus the sup and minus the inf. What are the properties of the minimal action? Okay, again, if you have any question, do not hesitate to ask. What are the properties of the minimal action? So the properties of the minimal action that we will use are the following one. So ht of xy is related to the boundedness, the function a giving the boundedness of L, and the function ck giving the superlinearity of L. And for every k, non-negative number, every time t, every xy, you have ht of xy is between k times distance x to y minus ckt, and is less than TA, distance of xy divided by t. And the second property is what is the semi-group property. If you want to find the minimal action to go from x to y in time t plus t prime, it's the minimum of the minimal action to go from x to some point z in time t, and then going from z to y in time t prime, the minimal action, and you have to take the infimum over all possible z's in M. I'm not going to prove B, okay, you just can check it. It's about concatenating curve or stopping a curve after at an intermediary position at time t prime or t, okay, or time t. But I'm going to sketch the proof of A. Okay, so suppose you have any curve gamma parameterized by 0t such that gamma 0 is x and gamma t is y. So we are going to first prove the left part here, okay? The relationship with the superlinearity. By the superlinearity property of the Tonelli-Lagrangian, what do we know? We know that L of gamma S gamma dot S is larger than K norm of the speed, which is gamma dot S, minus Ck. So this is just the expression of the superlinearity at the point gamma S gamma dot S in the tangent space. Now what you can do, if you look at this inequality, is integrate it between 0 and t to obtain, once you integrate L of gamma S gamma dot S between 0 and t, you just get the action of the curve. And if you integrate here, you get k times the integral of the speed, which is the length, okay? And now you integrate between 0 and t the constant ck, you get ck times t. But the length of a curve is always larger than the distance between its endpoints, so they give you the last inequality. Okay? Now, if you take the infimum over all curves gamma starting at x and ending at y in time t, you just get the first inequality. Okay, if you take the infimum of all actions, this quantity does not depend on the action, so you just get the minimal action here. So this is the left-hand side of the inequality we wanted to prove in A. And we want to prove the right-hand side inequality. For this, we are going to use a length minimizing geodesic parameterized by the interval 0t starting at x and ending in time t at y. Now, the length of such a minimizing geodesic is the distance between the 2 points. And the geodesic has speed constant in norm. So gamma S, gamma dot S in norm is constant. When you integrate this constant, you obtain the distance from x to y, and therefore this constant speed, norm of speed, is distance of xy divided by t. Okay, now we use the boundedness of the Tonelli-Lagrangian. L of gamma S gamma dot S is less than A applied to the norm of the speed of S, which is dxy divided by t in the case of this minimizing geodesic. So we obtain L of gamma S gamma dot S is less than A evaluated at the distance from x to y divided by t. Okay, now if you integrate this inequality between 0 and t, you just get that the action of this geodesic is less than t times A applied to distance of xy divided by t, but the minimal action is less than the action of any curve, so you get the same inequality for the action ht of xy is less than t A applied to distance of xy divided by t, which is in fact the right-hand side of A. And as I said, I leave you the proof of the semi-group property. Once you have this minimal action or the action of curves, you can define the Lax-Oleinik semi-group. And this is in fact what is called the negative Lax-Oleinik semi-group. Okay, so I'm going to define it not just for continuous function or finite valued function, but for all functions with values in minus infinity plus infinity. Okay, not necessarily continuous or even measurable, just any function. Okay, and we first defined it for time t positive in the following way. So t minus tu, it's a function with values also into minus infinity plus infinity, and it's defined by the following formula. You just look at the action of a curve, okay, ending in time t at x, penalize it by the value of u at the beginning, gamma of 0 of the curve. So the only constraint of the curve is that it has to end at x. And you penalize the action by u of gamma of 0, and then you take the infimum over all paths ending at x. Okay, so this defines you the value of the function t minus t u at the point x. Now you use in fact that the minimal action is the infimum over the minimal action in times t to go from y into x. Okay, is the infimum over all piecewise C1 curves gamma parameterized by 0t, which start at y and end at x. So here you can take the infimum if you want, defining t minus tu in two steps. You first fix gamma of 0, look at all curves that go from the same gamma of 0 to t, to x in time t, take the infimum of all that. If you do that, this part here will give you just hg of yx, and then now you take the infimum over all possible gamma of 0. So that tells you, in fact, that you can also define t minus tu at the point x as the infimum for all y in M of u of y plus hg of yx. And you complete that, so we just defined it for t positive. You complete it by t minus 0 of u is u. You take t minus 0 as the identity, like you would like to do for every semi-group. So what are the properties of the Lax-Oleinik semi-group? In fact, t minus tu of x is always bounded by u of x plus a0t. A0, remember, is a constant, is a value of the function a given by superlinearity for the constant 0. Okay, so it's the supremum of L on the 0 section. So this tells you that if u is finite, is not plus infinity at one point, then t minus tu is less than plus infinity everywhere for t positive. It also tells you that if u is minus infinity at one point, then t minus tu is equal to minus infinity everywhere for t positive. The next thing is that t minus tu plus c, so if you add a constant to a function, you compute its t minus t. It's the same as computing the t minus t of the function and adding the constant. Now, also t minus t is monotone in the argument u. if you have a function u which is less than or equal to function v everywhere, then the same thing is true for the image by t minus t. And also we get some kind of bounds with the sup norm or infinity norm of the difference u minus v, minus norm of u minus v, infinity plus t minus tv is less than t minus tu, which is less than t minus tv plus u minus v infinity. In fact, this you could just is equivalent to the infinity norm of t minus tv is less than the norm of u minus v, infinity norm of u minus v. And then you have the semi-group property. If the t minus t plus t prime is t minus t composed with t minus t prime. Okay, so in fact we have shown above that ht of xx is less than t distance of xx divided by t. Distance of xx is 0, so we get a0t. Okay, so if we look at t minus t of x, it's less than u of x plus ht of xx. In fact, it's a infimum where of u of y plus ht of yx. So it's less than u of x plus a0 of t. And this proves part A, which is precisely the inequality here. Okay. And from the definition of t minus t, we get that t minus tu of x is less than u of y plus ht yx. Okay. Since ht of yx is finite everywhere, okay, we get that t minus tu is less than plus infinity everywhere if u is finite at one point in M, because in that case you just pick y equals that point, and it will tell you that u is less than plus infinity if you pick a point y where u of y is less than plus infinity, and the inequality here tells you that necessarily t minus tu of x is less than plus infinity everywhere. And same thing, if u is minus infinity at minus 1 point, the same inequality tells you that t minus tu of x is minus infinity everywhere. Now, for part D, the fact that you can pull out a constant out of t minus t, okay, this is clear from the definition. Okay, if you add a constant to u here, you can pull it out in the inf. And for the preserving the order of the function is also clear, okay, from the definition. Once you have that, okay, to obtain this inequality here, minus norm infinity of u minus v plus t minus tv is less than t minus tu is less than t minus tv plus the norm of u minus v infinity, what you do, you just look at the inequality, which is true, minus norm of u minus v infinity plus v is less than u, is less than v plus norm of u minus v infinity, and you apply d and e to it, okay, by taking t minus t of the inequality, and you just get part F. And for the last one, G, the semi-group property of t minus t is just a consequence of the semi-group property of HT, of the minimal action. Now let me come to the notion of evolution domination, and let me first define what is the Lax-Oleinik evolution. It's just I want to consider t minus tu of x as a function of both t and x as a function of the variable tx. So I define this as u hat of tx. Okay, and I call that the Lac-Soleinic evolution. Now let me recall what is evolution dominated. I will say that a function u defined from 0 plus infinity times m to minus infinity plus infinity is evolution dominated by the Lagrangian if for every piecewise C1 curve, gamma, defined on the interval AB, I need A to be larger than 0 to be able to evaluate U at A gamma A and B gamma B. So it has the property that U at the end point, B gamma B, is less than U at the start point, U gamma A plus the action. Okay, and I put it in this form rather than UBA gamma B minus UA gamma A is less than the action, because in this form it makes sense even if you take the value minus infinity or plus infinity, because the second term here is always finite. So the sum always makes sense and the inequality always makes sense. Okay? So this is the domination. So equivalently, because this is true for all piecewise C1, if you take the inf over all piecewise C1, you just get that it is equivalent to the following inequality: U of t plus s at x is less than ut at y plus hs yx for all x, y in M, t non-negative and s positive. Now, if you take the Lac-Soleinic of any function, it will be evolution dominated by L. Okay, this is simply the semi-group property of the Lac-Soleinic semi-group. In fact, if you compute t minus t plus s of u at the point x, by the semi-group property, it's t minus s applied to the function t minus t u, okay? So the parenthesis here should be, in fact, before the parenthesis for x. And if you do that, okay, so you apply this to the function t minus t, you know that t minus s of a function is less than the function evaluated at any point plus hs of yx. Okay, so this tells me exactly, if I translate it now using the notation u hat, it tells me exactly the domination for u hat. So let me now give the relationship between Lac-Soleinic and viscosity. So suppose we have a function which is evolution dominated by L, defined on 0 plus infinity times m. If u is finite on 0 tau, excluding 0 and tau, for some tau k positive and less than or equal to plus infinity, then u is the viscosity subsolution of the Hamilton-Jacobi equation in evolution form on 0 tau times m. So I do it on 0 tau times m because I only defined viscosity subsolution for finite valued function. So suppose phi is larger than u on 0 tau times m, and phi is of class C1 at a point where phi of T0 x0 is equal to U of T0 x0 at a point T0 x0 like that, with D0 between 0 and tau. Okay. I fix some vector V in the tangent space of M at x0. And I can pick a curve C1 parameterized by 0T0, which has the property that at time 0, this curve gamma T0 is equal to 0 to x0, and the speed gamma dot T0 is V. I can always find such a curve, okay? And for T between 0 and T0, the domination inequality for U gives me U of T0 gamma of T0 minus U of T gamma T is less than the integral from T to T0 of L of gamma S gamma dot S ds, okay, by taking the restriction of gamma to the interval T to T0. Okay. Now, phi is larger than U with equality at T0 x0, which is gamma T0, which is T0 gamma T0, and therefore I can rewrite this as I can write this. The first inequality implies the second one here. So U of T0 gamma of T0 is phi of T0 gamma of T0, but phi T of gamma T, phi of T gamma T is larger than U of T gamma T, and therefore I am subtracting more, so I am less than the action again. Okay. Now I have this inequality, I can divide by T0 minus T and let T go to T0. And if I do that, I obtain the derivative here, okay, of the expression, and the derivative in T at T equal to 0, okay? So I get the derivative of phi with respect to T at T0 x0 plus the derivative of phi with respect to x of the derivative of gamma T at T0, which is V, less than the limit of the quotient of the integral between T0 and divided by T0 minus T. In the limit, I will get just L of x0 gamma dot, sorry, I'll get L of gamma of T0 gamma dot of T0, which is exactly x0 V. And this is true for all V in the tangent space now, okay? But H, the Hamiltonian x0 evaluated on the vector partial derivative of phi with respect to x at T0 x0 is the supremum of the partial derivative evaluated by V minus L of x0 V. So if I put here the L of x0 V on the other side by putting the minus sign, I get 0 on the right. And if I take the supremum, I end up with the inequality that the partial derivative of phi with respect to T at T0 x0 plus the Hamiltonian evaluated at x0, the partial derivative of phi with respect to x at T0 x0 is at most 0, and this finishes to show that U is a viscosity subsolution. Okay. Now, suppose that I have a function defined on M with value between minus infinity and plus infinity, and suppose there exists a tau, okay, such that its Laxoanic evolution is finite on 0 tau times M, and also that the infimum in the definition of the Laxoanic evolution is attained for every Tx, okay, in 0 tau time m at some point y in M. Then, in fact, U hat is a viscosity solution on the open subset, 0 tau times M. Now, I know that U hat is evolution dominated, and therefore, from the previous result, it's a viscosity subsolution. So I have to prove that it is a viscosity super solution on 0 tau times M. So suppose psi is a function of class C1 on 0 tau times M, which is less than U hat, and suppose that it is equal to U hat at some point T0 x0. Okay. So by the hypothesis, I can find a y in M such that U hat of T0 x0 is U of y, sorry, plus ht0 y x0. So this is the hypothesis that U hat at any point, the infimum in the definition of U hat, at any point in 0 tau times M is attained, okay? So by Tonelli's theorem, I can find the minimizer such that gamma, which starts at y, gamma 0 is y, and ends in time t0 at x0. And of course, the action of the minimizer, okay, it will be the minimum action, so it's ht0 y x0. Therefore, I get that U hat of T0 x0 is U of gamma 0 plus the integral from 0 to T0 of L of gamma S gamma dot S ds. Now, this implies that U of gamma 0 is finite, okay? Because U hat of T0 x0 is finite and the action is 0, is also finite. And of course, U hat of, by definition, U hat of 0 gamma 0 is equal to U of gamma 0, because we defined the Laxolinic operator, summary group Ty T minus 0 as the identity. So the inequality above can be rewritten as U hat at T0 x0 is U hat at 0 gamma 0 plus integral from 0 to T0 of L of gamma S gamma dot S ds. So this is what we obtain as equality, okay? Gamma was a part who was giving us that, okay? And in fact, U hat is evolution dominated, so I can apply the evolution domination to the two subparts, gamma between T and T0, and gamma between 0 and T, and I obtain the two inequality. U hat of T0 x0 is less than U hat of T gamma T, plus the action of gamma between T and T0. And also U hat of T gamma T is less than U hat of 0 gamma 0, plus the action of gamma between 0 and T. Okay? So if I look at these two inequalities, the first one will tell me that U hat T gamma T is finite, in fact, but I can is bounded from below, and the second one that it's bounded from above. But also I get it because so that tells me that U hat T gamma T is finite, but this is also true because T gamma T is in 0 tau times M, and I assume that U hat was finite on that set. So if I add the two inequality above, I get the inequality 4, because all the numbers involved are finite. That will tell me that both inequalities here, the two inequalities that I have here must be equalities. If you add inequalities and you get equality, all inequalities must be equality. If all numbers involved are finite. Okay, in particular, the first one is an equality. So I get u hat of t0 gamma t of 0 is u hat of t gamma t plus the action of the path gamma between t and t0. Now I know that psi is less than u hat with equality at t0 gamma t0 okay. And now, if I look at the equation above, the left-hand side is psi of t0 gamma t0, but the right-hand side here, in the right-hand side, u of hat of t gamma t is larger than psi of t gamma t, so I get the inequality. Psi of t gamma t0 is larger than psi of t gamma t plus the integral from t to t0 of L of gamma s, gamma dot s ds. Okay? So this is the inequality that I just obtained. What I do is rewrite it by subtracting psi of t gamma t, which is finite, from both sides. I obtain an inequality, which is psi of t0 gamma t0 minus psi of t gamma t is larger than the action of gamma between t and t0. If I divide by t0 minus t and let t go to t0, I obtained, of course, by passing to the limit, that the derivative, the partial derivative of psi with respect to t at t0 gamma t0 plus the partial derivative of psi with respect to x at t0 gamma x0 applied to gamma dot t0 is larger than L of x0 gamma dot t0. I can, of course, remind you by definition of L of x0 gamma t0 is larger than psi, okay, the partial derivative of psi with respect to x at t0 x0 applied to the vector gamma dot t0 minus the Hamiltonian evaluated at the same covector that I have here, which is the partial derivative of psi with respect to x at t0 gamma t0. So if I compare these two equations, okay, I get the equation here, okay, the equation that I see here. Now I can simplify by the partial derivative of psi with respect to x at the point t0 applied to gamma point t0, okay, and okay, and I can simplify by that quantity because it's finite, and if I put the h on the other side, I obtain the inequality that is required to show that the inequality on psi required to show that u hat is a viscosity supersolution. So that finishes to prove that u hat is a viscosity supersolution where it is finite. And the minimum and the infinite, the definition of u hat is attained. In fact, we will later see that if u hat is finite on 0 tau times m, then it is automatically continuous. I put under the rug the continuity, but we will see that later in lecture number 3, in fact. In fact, it's not only continuous, it's locally semi-concave, but I will avoid speaking of local semi-concavity, okay, not to have to recall to you what it is. But the right point of view would be local semi-concavity anyway. Okay. And in fact, replacing U by its lower semi-continuous regularization, if necessarily, we will show that the infimum is attained. Okay, and that's all for today. Any question?
Thank you, Albert.
No problem.
Just a curiosity, if we drop the compactness assumption on M,
Yes.
then we can still think of recovering this result about the representation being a solution. Maybe, well, one has to introduce some growth assumption on the functions. I mean,
that I will prove that next time.
Okay.
Okay, but the point is that the difference here, I will prove the Lax-Oleinik formula first, and then deduce uniqueness.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm going to show is that any solution, evolution, satisfies the Lax-Oleinik formula, and I will deduce uniqueness from the Lax-Oleinik formula. For the compact case, you do the opposite. Yeah. You prove uniqueness, and then you say the Lax-Oleinik formula gives you a solution. So it has to be this one.
Okay.
Yeah. So the point of these lectures on non-compactness is to show that you can still have the Lax-Oleinik formula in generality for Tonelli Hamiltonians. So there is no growth or uniform continuity hypothesis in that.
No, but on the class of function, I assume you take
No,
bounds.
if you are no. If you assume that you don't need anything. If it's a viscosity solution, it's automatic. There is no hypothesis. Now the point is that
the Lax-Oleinik formula may not be finite if you
but if it is finite,
okay,
it is a solution. This will be content of part 3.
Okay. So you assume finiteness, okay.
You have to assume finiteness, but in non-compact case, it's very difficult to give exactly a cut for which
you can give sufficient conditions, I imagine, on the function.
Yeah, it's very difficult to give necessary conditions. Okay. You can give a lot of examples where it's finite for some time, but not after that, but it will still be a solution. But anyway, if something is a solution, it satisfies the Lax-Oleinik formula.
Okay, so other questions or comments? So otherwise, we thank Albert for today's lecture. And so I remind you that we meet on Friday at 11.
Okay, see you on Friday.
So I also remind you, if you want to be added as a guest to the team channel, write me an email, or I can send you the notes to the email address. Okay, thank you, Albert. See you everybody on Friday.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Bye, thank you.